Are you thinking about making a podcast? If you are, I know you want to be able to make that podcast in a way that's easy and not complicated. And you want to be able to make that podcast in a way that it's not going to cost you an arm or a leg. Well, I have a solution for you. It's called Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast. Here's what you need to do. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm to get started. Start your podcast today. Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, July the 19th, 2020. It is currently 9:14 p.m. Central Time. Well, I just finished watching it. I just finished watching the match for the WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view that a lot of people were talking about and a lot of people were looking forward to. Now, I know some of you listening to this may not be a wrestling fan. That's perfectly okay. I understand that. Just remember that professional wrestling at its foundational level is simply storytelling. It's an action movie done live in front of you, right? No stuntmen, no camera tricks. It's right there in front of you. There is physical contact, obviously, but the outcome is predetermined. It's a storyline. The wrestlers are acting as characters. And if you sit back and appreciate what it is, it's storytelling. It's an action movie. It can be fun. It can be exciting. You have the antagonist, you have the protagonist, and you have this battle that takes place in the ring. Well, tonight at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, the match that everyone was talking about, the match that I just finished watching, was the Eye for an Eye match. Eye for an Eye match. Now, I know that sounds way over the top, and it is. Really, it is. This is the way this match was supposed to work. Eye for an eye. The only way you can win is by removing your opponent's eyeball from the eye socket. You have to remove your opponent's eye from their head to win the match. That was really the stipulation. You had to take the other person's eye. Eye for an eye match. Now, on the Theology Central podcast, I kind of looked at that they're obviously borrowing from the biblical idea of an eye for an eye, and well, we could talk about the different places that concept have shown up other than just the Bible, but I looked at it from a theological perspective, how a lot of people take that from the Old Testament, but then ignore what the New Testament says. And we could get into a whole theological discussion, but that's not the goal of this podcast. Currently on is to talk to you about what is on, tell you a little bit about it, analyze it, and I like to encourage people to go watch things. So here's the deal. The Extreme Rules pay-per-view, it's probably still currently on as far as the live feed is concerned. It may be close to over. Again, I'm about 30 minutes behind, but as soon as the pay-per-view is over, it will be available for on-demand viewing on the WWE Network. You can subscribe for $9.99 a month and get access to everything they have for a month. So, I would challenge you to watch it. That's always the thing. And even if you're like, but I'm not a wrestling fan, well, explore something new. Try something new. Watch storytelling in a wrestling format. So it's available. Even if you sign up right now, you can, as soon as you get ready to start it, it'll ask you if you want to watch live or start from the beginning. So you don't even have to wait for it to be quote unquote available on demand. You can start it over from the start right now. Currently, what I'm watching is Asuka versus Sasha Banks, and it looks like a very good match. But I'm not here to review the whole pay-per-view. No, I'm not. I'm here to talk about this Eye for an Eye match. All right, the Eye for an Eye match was between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is a legend in the business, and Seth Rollins, a lot of people may not like his personality. A lot of people may not like things he has said, outside of the ring, on social media, etc. A lot of people may not like how he sometimes interacts with fans when he's outside of the ring. If you meet him at a store, if you meet him somewhere, you can talk all day about those criticisms, but I think his in-ring work is amazing. And from the outset of this match, this eye for an eye match, Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio put on a fast-paced, very creative match. Now, obviously, the goal of the match is to rip out the other person's eye. So, obviously, they pulled out all kinds of... They basically had a toolbox from pliers to metal, pieces of metal, a kendo stick. I mean, you name it, they pulled it out. A corner of tables, corner of stairs. I mean, they pulled out all kinds of different things to do so. The only criticism I would have of this match, and this is one that I think a lot of people will have, this kind of match where you're trying to do such brutality, it would have made sense that someone would have been bleeding. Even early on in the match, someone gets cut, someone's bleeding early on, but due to the COVID situation and due to WWE wrestling being more in a PG format than a TV mature format, one of the stipulations now is what's called no blading. This is where in times past, if you needed blood, someone would have a razor blade and then slice themselves to get the blood coming out for the purpose of the story. Right? This is a match that I think really needed some blood leading up to the dramatic conclusion where someone's going to lose an eye. I think it would have created more drama and would have really added to it. I understand with COVID-19 situation why they didn't, but in spite of that big, I think a kind of a flaw, the action was back and forth. It felt personal. It felt like, hey, these guys really hate each other. They're really going after it. Some great wrestling, some good counters. Rey Mysterio using Seth Rollins' finisher, the curb stomp, I thought was really clever and cool. I mean, they just work together good in the ring. They've got a good timing. Everything just flows really good. Everything looks crisp. Everything looks clean. Everything looks believable. So I thought it was some great wrestling. I mean, there was a part of it that I almost wished that it was just a regular match and they just let them go for 30 minutes. But they used the weapons really well. They maybe you could have argued it would have been good for like one like big spot in the match. You had the dramatic, like trying to use a weapon to get the other person's eye, which was what the story was. But I just think maybe one big spot to try to disable your opponent so you could remove their eye. I think that would have been appropriate, and I think it would have really upped the match, maybe almost to that epic level or classic level. I don't think the match ever got to that epic or classic level, but it was entertaining. It was back and forth, and it was really good. Definitely was the best match of the night up to this point. Now, Sasha and Asuka looks like they're putting on a heck of a match right now. But I just think that this match had potential for going even better than it was. But they needed blood, and I think they needed one big spot. All right, so ultimately, we know where this is going. The match is moving to the epic conclusion. Now, when they announced this stipulation, eye for an eye, and the only way you can win is taking your opponent's eyeball, everyone kind of felt like they booked themselves into a messed up corner. I mean, how are you going to pull this off? So a lot of people thought you were going to get some messed up finish where someone interrupted or something stupid was going to happen, so they never got to that point. Well, to the credit of everyone involved, they didn't go that route. They went all the way to someone losing an eye, that got all the way to that point. Now, there were rumors that the match was going to use CGI. And I was very looking forward to okay, they're going to use CGI. I want to see it. Now, I was also very afraid that the CGI was going to look like total and utter garbage. They didn't go the CGI route. I really thought that's the way they were going to go. I'm like, how else are you going to do this? So they didn't do it that way. So what they did do is they used a spot that had already been used previously, which is the corner of the steps. It was dramatic, but since it had already been used, in fact, it's used before with blood, and they didn't even really use this with blood, and they didn't necessarily really show anything. So I think there's going to be a lot of criticism from that way. Like you give this really grotesque stipulation, you got to pull something out. That's why I think he needed blood early on to really add to this idea. This is a grotesque personal blood feud. So they didn't do the CGI. They didn't really do any major bloody thing there. They did use the corner of the steps. The only kind of interesting, I guess one of the interesting things they did is when the one wrestler who's already kind of shoved the other wrestler's eye into the metal stairs, and supposedly his eye is out. They yell, his eye is out. He looks down and then he stops like he's horrified. He backs up and then he begins to throw up. They do show that, which really adds at least to the illusion that someone had lost an eye. Now, I don't know how you move forward, because if someone supposedly lost an eye, do you now tell the story that he went to the doctor and the eye got put back in and we saved the eye? Like, that just seems like, that kind of cheapens it out. So I'm kind of torn here. The match was good and everything they did. It's just the ending. They booked themselves into a corner. So I think it was a good match. It did not get to great because I think they needed blood. They needed one big spot. And then I think for the ending, I don't know how else maybe they should have tried the CGI. I think the CGI would have looked horrible. If you are going to look like, the person got their eye, smashed out by, shoving it into the staircase, you needed something. You needed blood. You needed something. And the fact that they missed that, I think is going to open them up to criticism. I mean, look, here's my take. There's only so many different ways to tell stories in professional wrestling. I mean, there are. You get in the ring, two people wrestle, you're going to have a winner, you're going to have a loser. You can do things like, the antagonist cheats. You can have, run-ins. You can have count-outs. You can do a lot of different ways. But after a while, you're limited in what you can do. So when a company tries to go way outside and try something completely unique, a lot of times they get criticized for it. But I'm all for supporting a unique way of trying to tell the story. I thought it was a unique way of trying to tell the story, and I think Sasha Banks is about to die right. Oh, okay, she made the flip. Okay. That was an ugly looking spot. They really they really were having some difficulty setting that up. I apologize. I'm watching. Oh. Okay. I think that was a planned spot. It looked like she slipped. Okay. That was pretty good. Ooh, man. Okay. She made it over. All right. I'm watching Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Okay. So, back to the eye for an eye match. I apologize. The eye for an eye match, like I said, I think it was lacking because it needed some blood. It needed a big spot. And I think the conclusion, they booked themselves into a corner, and I think they needed some kind of blood. The other wrestler throwing up when he saw it was a good take on trying to convince you that it was horrific and that was horrible, but then you're kind of seeing it. So I think there will be, I know some older wrestling fans can be cynical and want to complain about everything. They'll complain about it, I know. If that would have been younger kids watching it, I'm telling you, they would have probably been horrified and going crazy. But it did need a little bit more. I think the winner of the match, I can understand why they I'll just tell you. If you don't want to know, you can stop right now. The winner of the match was Seth Rollins. His character is the Monday Night Messiah. He's supposedly like this delusional person who almost thinks he's Jesus. And I wanted Ray to win, but I can understand it. They really are pushing this Seth idea. Ray is a legend. I think Ray Mysterio, I don't know where his contract is right now. He may be taking some time off, so you can have him leave for a period of time with this, and then possibly bring him back. Do you bring him back showing some kind of eye damage? I don't know how they're going to work that. We'll have to see. It'll be somewhat interesting to see how they pull this off. I was really hoping we would have been able to see something. So I'm going to put this as thumbs up for trying to do something different. Thumbs up for the great in-ring work between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. But I can't give it classic. I can't even give it great. I can give it good because of the things that are missing. Let me go through the things that were missing again. Blood, a big spot, and you needed at least some kind of extra blood. I mean, considering they didn't have any blood up to that point, they definitely needed blood right there for the big dramatic conclusion of someone losing an eye. And they needed to show the viewers something. They definitely needed to show the viewers something where you would have been like, wow. I mean, in storytelling, you know, when you're going to go with a match stipulation that's so visual, you've got to have some kind of visual element in the storytelling. And if you don't, well, then you kind of miss out. All right, and I'm looking at the conclusion here of Asuka. What is going on? Wait a minute here. This is crazy. Okay, hang on. I don't think this is actually what you can do. Hang on, give me 1 second. I'm getting ready to tell you the conclusion of this. You've got to be kidding me. Asuka supposedly just lost. I don't think that's going to count. All right, there's all kinds of chaos currently going. They're supposedly Asuka just lost the belt, and that will mean Bayley and Sasha will have the tag belts, will have the individual women belts. They will have all belts pertaining to women between the two of them, which will be crazy. There's no way that's going to stand. So that's the match. I wanted to give you just a quick reaction to it, and you know, go watch it. I think it's worth it. I think it's thumbs up for trying something new, but I think they missed out a little bit. I wish they could have taken it to that next level. I think there were some elements missing, but there you have it. There you have it. That's the eye for eye match tonight on the WWE Extreme Rules pay-per-view called the Horror Show. The next big match that's going to be done like a movie is called the Swamp Match, which maybe that's where they're going to use the CGI. Maybe they're going to use the CGI there, but we will see. Well, it looks like Sasha has the title. What a crazy mess that was. There's going to be lots of criticism about that ending. They're going to say that was overbooked. They brought in way too much. I don't even know how that stands. Okay, but yeah, but you always need you need controversial endings to get people to tune in on Monday and on Friday night for your weekly show. So that's good storytelling. All right, I'll stop right there. That's it. That's my reaction currently to the WWE pay-per-view. That's what's currently on for this Sunday evening, Sunday, July the 19th. Everyone have a great night. Go watch something.